Welcome back to the channel. My name is T Cypher, and today we're going to be looking at a CNC related topic. I'd like to apologise if you've come to look for a Harrier demonstration or tutorial. Fortunately, I had an operation recently which does not allow me to sit down, so instead I'm going to be looking at a CNC topic. Now I'm presently stood by my CNC 3D Queen Bee. I would always recommend the original Queen Bee over the cheap Chinese ones. I just feel like the quality is probably better. Okay, and I've got a pile of new bits and bobs. Now you might be wondering what this is. Well, let's find out. Okay, so Daniel Collins was the person originally responsible for the Queen Bee, which is as supplied by CNC 3D, and they've actually just released a Queen Bee version 2, which is an improvement over the original one by using a ball screws instead of Acme thread lead screws. Now this isn't that. What we have here is a pile of bits which ultimately will become either a Nighthawk, Metal Ripper, or a Terrorhawk, depending on whose name you want to go with. Now I've purchased this for my own money, so this isn't a sponsored video or anything like that, and all I've done is basically opened the boxes briefly just to try and do a count of everything I've got. But I thought I'd share with you the actual build process, and today what we're going to be looking at specifically is we're going to have a look at the metalwork that I've received, and we'll go over some of the other bits and bobs of the kit I've received. I'm not going to go through everything just simply because it's not all necessarily that interesting. Okay, Future Cypher here, a bit of a jump to, well, what's going to be the next video actually. Since I recorded this video, the day after, CNC 3D released their affiliate program. So what that means is now that I have a link, which basically if you happen to purchase anything of CNC 3D, I might, and it's not clear what's going to happen, I might get some pennies. So if you can look in the description, hopefully you'll find the link. Like I said, I firmly recommend the Queen Bee. I know you can get it cheaper elsewhere, but I believe they offer the best one, and their Queen Bee 2 literally just released a day or two ago as well. So definitely worth looking at them. If you're after anything on for CNC, look at CNC 3D and use the link below. But now back to the video. Okay, so some of the basics about this machine. It's going to be based on a 40x40 extrusion, with the axes being a 80x160 extrusion. It's quite heavy and beefy, and the rest of the frame being made out of 40x80 extrusion. I'm not going to show those items probably because they're quite big, and in all honesty I probably can't lift them at the moment. But we're going to start going through the metalwork. So the first piece here I pulled out. These look like they're probably going to be the end pieces on the Y extrusion, so Y axis. So the axis that goes longwise rather than widthwise on the machine. So this here at the back, you can see this is one of the Y-axis on the Queen Bee. So next we've got the parts which I believe to make up the X-gantry support. So just for information, if I spin across to my Queen Bee, for example, this is the X-gantry support for the Queen Bee, and these are the parts for the I'm going to call it Terrorhawk for the sake of argument. Okay, so some people might wonder why, basically, why did you want this to build another CNC? Because I enjoy it, basically. Do I need it for its capability? No, in all honesty, my Queen Bee was probably capable of doing what I needed it to do. Probably needed to do a bit better on the setups sometimes. But yeah, it was capable, it did the work, and I've done some really nice things with it. Why the Terrorhawk, Nighthawk, whatever you want to call it. Basically, every Queen Bee made by CNC 3D is manufactured on a Nighthawk. So it's a very capable machine for dealing with aluminium products and wood of ease. The CNC 3D are calling it the Nighthawk Pro Metal Ripper, this particular model. and I'll explain a bit about that hopefully as I go forward about what that entails. I don't know the full details. I know they're doing, I think, on now maybe 4 versions of this, the Nighthawk thread ripper, the metal ripper, which will come with a aluminium base pre-drilled and set up to make your life easy. I don't know if they'll be selling it as a kit. I know they're selling it as a complete unit. Then there's going to be a as yet unnamed, which will be aimed at metal, wood. So that will be up to sizes which can basically take the larger size wood panels. I'm just having an argument to work out how to unwrap this, and yeah, Colin did a very good job of wrapping it up, to say the least. And then there's going to be a non-pro version, which I would sort of stand somewhere between the Queen Bee 2 and the pro version. I think what it will mean, it might not have quite the size of the pros, and I'd imagine it'll have things like smaller linear rails than this one will have. I'll get onto the linear rails later. Let me just finish unwrapping this. Okay, so that's the parts out of the wrapping. Meaty wise, yep, that plate's definitely meaty. So this is the actual gantry plate itself, and that is 20mm thick. That compares to what looks like 12 for the Queen Bee I had. Height wise, 38cm. I know switching units compared to 30 of the Queen Bee. Yeah, so it's a lot more big and meaty. So let's have a look at the part itself. So this is the plate. It's got quite a heft to it. Don't know why it's got some little markings on it. Nothing I can see there wrong. Bit of swarf in that hole there, but again, not a problem. I can manage this sort of stuff very easily. Nice and smooth. You can see the tramming where the tramming is, or the little lines, but it's no feel of it. There's no. I can maybe just pick it up on the nail. It's nothing, really nothing. And like I said, if you get it from CNC 3D, it's going to be anodized purple. They do it all in, which is that color, which is cool. Okay, you can see it's slightly recessed down here. This is, I guess it should be able to use that as a alignment face to make sure things are square. I can't see anything wrong with this piece. So if that was a bit close, it is rather hefty. Okay, again, another part is the other side, so the recess is on the other side here. So I would say that would be the right hand side of the axis. Okay, that there, proximity sensor goes in there, I would say. Yeah, looks good. Interesting slight point where it's missed on the final surfacing finish, but again, it's a location that's not going to matter. But yeah, really nicely finished, nicely done. Okay. Now the way this bit works here, this is where the actual carriage is for the gantry support is going to be on into one there. And the way it's going to work is, if I turn this piece over, it will mount something like that, with the carriages below it. Okay, and finally, let's have a look at that. 1, 2, 3. Let's have a detailed look at it, just make sure there's nothing wrong with it. A little bit of swath down some of the holes, but again, not a problem. I can deal with that ×1. Okay, again, other side. Not a problem, all good. Are these identical? There's a question. I think those are probably identical. Can't see left-handed and right-handed question marks on them, but it's overlaid. I thought these are just mirrored parts. Yeah, they are. Finally, these parts. Okay, so that's over 20mm again. This is a lot thinner. This is probably just 10mm, a lot lighter. This is quite heavy. Okay, so this part, from what I can tell, is the basically the ball screw runs almost underneath the main frame, so it's not going to get caught or get debris on it. And this part here will fit something like this, but on the outside, and it can run down, and then you can connect the ball screw nut there. These slots here, I think they're for if you want to install a self-greasing system or a single grease pump system. Haven't decided if I'm going to do that yet. Need to do a bit of research on that. My initial project is primarily going to be getting the frame together. Oh, that's a bit interesting. There's a slight... Yeah, he hasn't... he's chamfered this face, but he hasn't chamfered this face, and it's left a little bit of a burr here, but again, not a major problem. I can deal with burrs. Okay, this is a mirrored part of this one. Okay, likewise, a bit sharp on the back side here. It looks like a deburring tool's been run around, but it's not as nice as the proper chamfered side. Bit of debris in that hole there, but again, that's not going to be an issue. Okay, and just some minor marks on the outside, but nothing that's going to affect the function. So that's the X-gantry support. Okay, so next is the parts for the I don't know what it's called, the Y gantry, the actual Z gantry maybe, I don't know, a bit that runs along the X gantry. So that part over there of the queen bee. Sorry, I don't necessarily know all the technical terms. Okay, yep, so we've got a couple of bits here. Okay, let's see what we can do. Now, what would people who buy this want to buy it for? It is a pro level part, so it's not for the basic hobbyist. For the basic hobbyist, I'm more than happy to recommend the work bee as a starter and the queen bee as the upgrade. There are some other versions out there. You've got the Rat Rig Killer Bee, which is again similar to the original queen bee. I don't know if that's got ball screws or not, or if that's just Acme threads. Like I said, there's now also a Queen Bee Pro being produced by a Chinese company, which I think looks like it's going to use a rack and pinion system, which might be a good choice for really large beds. I personally try and support Daniel and CNC 3D because, to put it bluntly, the Chinese ripped off their design. Yes, the work bee was a open source design, but the queen bee was never released as such. But yeah, that's the way it is, unfortunately. I think CNC 3D have done a really smart move by offering pre-built systems. It really is quite a cool idea. So who is this bee for? Like I say, I'm more of a hobbyist who takes it rather serious. Maybe someone who wants to run a small workshop producing aluminium parts. Yes, you can buy machines out of China and stuff, or you can get proper CNC machines, but you're probably talking a considerable amount more money than this. I know you've got things like the Terrorhawk, which are actually is a CNC mill from China, and that you're talking 20k, £20,000, a lot of pennies. But like I said, I've got it purely because I enjoy building stuff. In all honesty, I'm a bit of a nightmare for that. I make a start and I don't necessarily always finish. But yeah, this is the way of things. As anybody who's been following my pit build on the Harrier, I've actually did record a couple of videos which I never actually put out, because in all honesty I just enjoy the building process, and the actual compiling the videos into videos is time consuming really. So yeah, so let's get these parts out there wrapping. There we are. Okay, so that's all the parts out. Yep, so the actual arrangement for the x-axis for this part, this machine, it's not on the side like with the Queen Bee. The actual linear rails are on the top and the bottom of the 160 by 80 gantry going across. So this is the parts to it. So like I say, this is the first time looking at it. Let's just have a quick look at the metal. Again, quite hefty. That looks like it's another 20mm piece. Might be slightly smaller. Yeah, slightly smaller. That's more 18mm. Okay. In all honesty, I'm not 100% sure where that bit goes. It's either going to be on the bottom or on the top. I don't know why I spun it because it's mirrored. Finish wise, looks good. There's a little bit of a ding there. That might be in transport, but again, that's nothing I can't tidy up. But apart from that, a little bit of a aggressive deburr there, but again, not going to cause any problem. Threads look cleanish, but I'll tidy those, clean those up anyway before I manufacture it, put it together, should I say. Okay, this is the other half. Now my gut says this is going to be the bottom purely because it's got this reference face here. Again, looks like it's either 20 or 18. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's going to be an 18 again. It's all looking good to me. No signs of any damage as such. I know when I was talking to Daniel, actually, I agreed that at least one piece is probably damaged purely because it saves me a few pennies, doesn't it? Don't know which part it was, in all honesty. Okay, it might have been that part earlier. Okay, so this part here, this long piece here, is actually the rear of the assembly. This is only, I'd say, 10mm, a lot lighter. I can understand the reason to use 10mm because, well, that's 9mm. Probably started out with a 10mm piece before being machined. It is a lot lighter. These bits are really quite heavy actually. And this goes on the rear, so I'd imagine it's going to be something like that part would be there. This part's going to be something like that. My arm's in the way so you can't actually see what's going on because I'm an idiot. So, like that. Okay, and then this part here is going to be the front. You may wonder what's this strange square thing up here. It's actually a good idea really. If you've got a water-cooled spindle, this is, I believe, a 120mm base hole pattern, if I remember correctly. Should be around about that. 11. So I think it's designed to fit a 120mm PC cooling fan base, or to be more precise, you can fit a radiator here and then have the fans going through, and then you can just do your water cooling loop for the spindle just in this area here. There's lots of mounting slots here where you can mount various hardware. So yeah, but that part, good old eye over it, looks good to me. And then this heavy old part here, this is the actual front face, so there'll be going there, reference to the machine, and I would say it'll fit something like that to there. Yep. And then there'll be a probably a section that goes on here which controls the drive on the Z-axis. Okay, holes there, those will be the mounting holes to go there, I'm sure. Yep, nicely machined part. yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. I'd like to just say a little extra about this part here. I've actually been speaking to Daniel since I did the original Queen Bee build and documented that, because I think I was one of the first people to do it, and I provided feedback on it. And I remember him at the time showing me an image. I'm not sure if it was this part or if it was an adapter plate for the Queen Bee to do the very same thing, but yeah, it's interesting to see it in the flesh here down the line. Okay, so now we have the actual parts for the Z-axis. So like I said, this part here will be sat on top of the Z-axis gantry support, if I want to call it that. And here we can actually see the part that I mentioned earlier about it being slightly damaged. We can see it's got slight machining error there, but like I said, I don't care. It's still functional. I might just give it a bit of a go at it with the file just to deburr it a bit, but that's fine. Yep, so that's that part. And this is the actual plate for the, that will run up and down, mounting points for the 1, 2, 3, 4 carriages for the linear rails. That's probably going to be the bearing block there. Looking at this part, I'd say that's probably going to be your proximity sensor. And then we've got a whole pattern down here which hopefully will match with a clamp of mine. So that's it for the bits of metalwork. Most of it looks really good actually. It's going to be a hefty machine, that's for sure. And this is a little bonus piece that Daniel threw in, which I thought was actually quite useful actually. Because Daniel, if you haven't seen his YouTube channel, I would say I'd link it to it, but I don't know how to. But if you search Terrorhawk at CNC, I'm sure you'll find it. He's put out a few good videos. And this, if I can get it open, is a reject of his, apparently. I sort of could tell what it was through the wrap and was like, ooh, I wasn't expecting that. Okay. So this is a chumming bar. So he demonstrates how to use it in his site. Apparently it's one of his earlier prototypes, a bit thick, he said, so I think he's gone for thinner sides now. But it should still be usable, so I can make use of that for chumming purposes. And he even threw in some little screws, or bolts should I say, which is awesome. Now, more about this machine I'm going to build. So, the machine that comes from CNC 3D, it's not released yet. I don't know the full details. I sort of assume it's going to use their Nighthawk controller, but I can't guarantee that. Now, of course, my Queen Bee I've got here uses a Jewett 2 because it was originally a work bee, and it did the job fine. No problem at all. I would say it's a bit tight. I might want to tap through that. That's okay. I would say it lacked functionality, so I was looking at moving away from that particular ecosystem. I would say Ooze Nest have literally just released a update for it. I don't know what they've added, but I suspect they probably haven't added everything I would want. So I had a couple of options. I like the idea of a standalone component where you don't need to have a computer attached to it. So I looked at Masso, which looks a good system. But I did leave a message on their forums asking a few questions, and a week later they didn't bother to get back to me. So that sort of put me off quite a bit. It's also quite expensive. So I ended up shelving that idea. Other options, Mac 3. Mac 3 is used a lot, Mac 4 as well. From my understanding, Mac 3 is no longer supported, and the chatter out there, the talk out there, indicates it's probably not as good anymore. The other one was a UC CNC, which is actually what Daniel uses for his. So I decided I would go with that approach. So this is the box of goodies I bought for this. So this didn't come from Daniel, this came separately. I ordered it directly. So these are some connection cables. Here we have a breakout board. Okay, so there's basically two parts to this. This is a breakout board. This is where you wire everything into. I would say this is probably the more scary part of the build for me, because although actually I do have an electronics A-level from back 20 odd years ago, I've been the mechanical person most of my life. The mechanical stuff I find easy. Electronics I used to find easy, so hopefully I can get back into doing it. I'm just doing a lot of reading, and unfortunately a lot of this sort of the documentation that goes with this, and it is very good documentation. There is a plethora of it out there. It's a bit it sort of assumes you know certain things already, so it can be a little tricky, and it's not all in one place like different manuals. So one manual for this one manual for the breakout board, and then another manual for the software itself. So this is the UC300 Ethernet, so I went for an Ethernet driver because of noise issues. And then this is so that's the actual front part, is that part, and then this is a breakout board on the rear. I think that's analog outputs there, and then that. So like I said, this is probably the more scary part to me, because the duet approach just worked, in all honesty. You had all your drivers and stuff built onto it, and single power supply in, and you like all your pins. It's pretty well laid out where everything went. This is a bit more, you need to work out for yourself, which is going to be interesting. I'm sure I'll manage. But the good thing is there seems to be good, there's a good Facebook group out there, and there's a good forum out there which seems to be very active, and looks like they can be quite helpful. So yeah, that's going to be interesting when I build the control box. I'm personally watching a lot of videos about control boxes, because all about the electrical stuff. Luckily I've got colleagues at work, so I'll have a chat with them and see what their thoughts and advice is on the control box itself. I know when I get to that, hopefully I'll make a video about it. Yeah, so that's the controller system side of it. Now I think I'll take a pause. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to stop this video and create a new video, or I'm just going to carry on and start looking at some of the other parts. Thank you for watching. If you like this topic, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.